Hello and welcome back to another part of Design Your Own Level tutorial. So what we're going to be doing in today's video is just add a UV map to this glass panel, basically a display panel that we created before. So we need to go into Blender and essentially we just want to UV unwrap this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to split off the view. So right click and split and then set this to UV. I'm just going to change that out. You will see some of our older textures are still here. So I'm just going to create a new image, 2048 by 2048. This is actually a very broad image. So we might actually be able to get away with making the width kind of different. So let's make, we'll keep the height at 124. So then we're just going to call this display glass. There we go. And we're going to set the alpha to 0. And there we go. We have our complete panel over there. And I'm just going to hit U to unwrap. And I just actually want to see what that looks like. And it's not quite working with me. Let's try that again. Let's try a smart UV project. You know what? That actually came out pretty good. I'm quite surprised by that. The only thing that I'm worried about, no, not too concerned about these because these are the sides. And not too concerned about that because that's like the area where it meets up. So we can just actually look at it and see how that works. So to kind of like create a split around about the middle, and that is actually something that I'm trying to avoid with this. So I just want to see if I just select that part on its own. No, it's still not quite going to work for me. But now there's something else that we can try, and I just want to see if that would work. We can project, we can do a cylinder project, that doesn't work. And project from view, you see that kind of works, but not quite. Because it's going to give like a smaller edges on the side. So I think the best way for us to actually UV unwrap this would be to go into the edge select, and then we're essentially just going to mark seams on the sides here and here. So remember, alt right click and it will select everything in that area, and then alt right click as well, and we're just going to mark a seam. And if I quickly unwrap it, then we can see, alright, okay, that actually came out pretty good. That is what we want. So I'm going to do it with this side over here as well, and I'm going to Control E, mark a seam. And I'm just going to ignore this part for now, and I just want to see what happens if I unwrap it. Alright, so the way I currently unwrapped it was essentially the front part displays completely on its own, and then this part wraps everything, including the side and the top pieces. So you can see that's why it's doing that part over there. Actually, I think what I want to do is I'm going to clear these seams, and let's try to unwrap again, and then you'll see that. Alright, so we're going to go with this one over here. Then I'm just going to select this, grab it, and I'm going to move it up. And then this one over here, I actually just want to straighten these out. So I'm just going to grab it, move it up a little bit. Then I'm going to hit Alt and then have it select, and then I'm going to scale on the y-axis by 0, and then do the same with this one over here. Actually, we might have to then just select all of these at the top. Alright, this is a little bit more of a tedious process. Again, we've done UV unwrapping before, so we know actually how horrible it gets. Scale on the y-axis by 0. Scale y by 0. See, unfortunately, we can't get away with doing that. No, that doesn't work, so I'm just going to have to select all of these again. scale on Y by 0. And then I'm not really too concerned about the middle edges, but I am concerned about these sides. So I'm going to select that one, scale X by 0, and then this one over here, scale X by 0, so that they're at least straight. Okay, grab this, scale X by 0, and then scale X by 0. There we go. Now what we can essentially do is, let's just position them a little bit better. Grab on the X-axis, move it roughly about there. That one looks okay. I'm actually going to just scale it on the X-axis a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to grab everything, scale on Y. And then just grab it on the Y and move it down. Grab on Y and grab on Y and move it up. Alright, so we can do this a little bit more. There we go. So that we at least have like a uniform scaling amongst them. And so this is essentially our UV map done. Now, you might think that we're going to apply texture to it. We're not. We're going to export this as is to Unreal Engine 4. We're going to just click main, selected object, geometries, edge, and then ignore the leaf bones. I'm going to change this from display test to display final. We're going to click export. Right, and then essentially I'm going to delete this one, delete it, and import. So display final, there we go. And we can actually just select the display test and delete that because we're not going to use that again. Import, and then I'm going to drag it into the world. Now the main thing about this is at least the fact that now we have UV maps. So now we have something for our material to drive. Even though I don't believe a good UV map was necessary, but this is in case we want to add different things onto the panel itself. Let's try the 1.25 scaling. Make it look super big and just makes it look cool. Alright, so let's move that up. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to create a material for it. Now, I've been looking around at trying to find a proper glass material, and the only one that I could really find was one from a YouTube channel called the Metal Game Studios. They do a fairly, it was I think about 2 years ago, they did a very good glass material. So I will put a link in the description below for that video, but I'm going to try and recreate it in this video. So I'm just going to right click, make a new material. I'm going to call this glass panel. I'm going to open it. Alright, and then essentially I'm going to copy his video step by step. And the only real reason why I'm doing that is because I'm putting the link in the description below to his video. You can go watch it. It is, just go support their YouTube channel. It is just where I got the inspiration from. So first thing you want to do is we want to create a vector parameter. We're going to hook that up to our base color. And then we're going to add values here. We're just going to change the default value here to 0.0005 and 0.001 and then 0.00085, and then alpha we're going to set to 1. Alright, so you can check out these values, and then we're going to go and right click, and we're going to add a constant. We're going to hook this up to metallic. And we're going to give it a, we're also going to hook it up to the roughness, because I think we're going to give them the same value. And we're going to change the value to 0.1. And then I'm going to right click and make another constant. Hook this up to specular. And I'm going to change its value to 26. Alright, so then what we want to do is we want to add two lerps. Now, the way you can do that, you can right click and you can type in lerp. and get linear interpolate, or you can hold down L and you can click, and then you have two lerps. And we're going to hook the first one up into the opacity, and then the second one we're going to hook up into refraction. And then I'm going to right click and add a constant, and we're going to duplicate that and just make another constant, and we're going to give the top one a value of 0.008 and feed that into the A, and this one we're going to give a value of 0.9 and feed that into the B. And then we can actually duplicate them, or we could just add more constants. Let's add more constants. Copy this one. We're going to give the first one a value of 1.05 and then the second one a value of 0.95. We're going to feed this into the B and then feed this into A. And then we want to add I think it's pronounced Fresnel or Fresnel. I don't know how you pronounce it. I've always believed it's Fresnel. Alright, so you right click and you can type in Fresnel, and you'll see that there's the two options. We want to use the Fresnel function, and we're going to feed the results into the alpha channels. And then I'm going to right click and create a constant. We're going to hook that constant up to the power, and we're going to give it a value of 1.5. Alright, so now what we want to do is we just want to select our glass panel over here. We want to change the blend mode to translucent. And then there's an option. This is a further version of Blender, so, sorry, not Blender, of Unreal Engine 4. So finding the functions is a little bit different. So I'm just going to type in the search tab, enable separate. Alright, there we go. We want to disable that. And then under the light mode, as far as I know, surface translucency volume. I think that's it. Alright, so I think that's it. I'm just going to click apply. Move this to the side. I'm going to drag the glass panel material onto my display, and then hopefully it will compile. Alright, there we go. And that came out pretty good. So now we can just fool around with the color and everything that we want, but that actually came out pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. So once again, a shout out to Metal Game Studios. Thank you for your glass material tutorial. I did find it very handy. I was kind of like struggling on how to do it. I have made glass before, but not something that is curved that will look good. So I believe that this solved my problem. So again, to everyone watching this video, go check out the link in the description below for their original video. Go give them a like. It will help them, and it helps me as well. So now we're done with setting up our material and our UV maps and everything for this. We can fool around with the color a little bit if you want. So we can go in here, and I think inside of, I'm just going to copy these values off. And note one thing: if you have a vector parameter and they both named the same thing, if you change the one's value, it will change the other one's value. So I'm just going to call this default color. And then this one, I'm going to leave it as none. So now we can like select a color. I think their color was slightly like had a green tint to it. So if we go back to it and we try and see what that looks like, there we go. We're actually very close to what it looks like. If I can just bring that video up again, we just see. I keep closing it, so. Alright, so you can see there it is. There's their panel in all its glory. And there is our panel in all its glory. So we've actually managed to create the panel properly. There is some minor details that I'm going to touch up in the next video. I'm just going to add some sides and everything to it. So that is not essential for what we wanted to do with this. So those type of cosmetic details is all what you want to add into it. I'm going to make it a separate tutorial, but it won't be important for you to follow along if you want to carry on, because it's a very basic thing to do. So this actually brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.